We're now going to go to the final talk in our series. This is going to be rather short. We're going to turn our attention to Book 2, Chapter 9. Now, in our textbook, this is the last passage from Aristotle's Nicomachean Ethics, but I want you to realize there are books 3 through 10 out there, and they're large. They're larger than any of these that we've read, so there's a great deal left of the book that we haven't considered, but that's okay. This is an introductory course. In Book 2, Chapter 9, we get a number of reprises. In other words, bringing up again some major ideas for a flourish. But the flourish is quick, and then we're done. Aristotle begins by reprising the idea that the mean is difficult to find, but extremes are easy. It's hard to hit the bullseye on the target. It's easy to hit everywhere else, including off of the target. That's easy. What's really hard is to hit that bullseye. Goodness, as a consequence, is rare, and it's praiseworthy because it's difficult. Let me rephrase that because this is incredibly deep. The good things are difficult. The easy things are not good. What's really good is what's hard, what's rare, what's exceptional, what's difficult. If everybody can do something, that doesn't make it good. It's what very, very few people can do that makes it good. You see here again something of the aristocratic flavor, but it also goes, even in our culture that's not aristocratic, to sports. Who do we consider to be the good athlete? The athlete that does something that any Joe Blow on the street could do, or the athlete who does something that nobody else can do? What's rare and difficult is the good. Aristotle's convinced of that, and if you can prove him wrong, then he'll go with you, but it's going to be hard to scrutinize that as incorrect. Virtually everybody starts off not at the mean, but at one of the extremes. Isn't that life? So how do we become good? That was the whole question that we started with. How do we become good? How do we make people good? How do we make good citizens? Answer, you have to leave the extremes. Oh my gosh. Well, that's kind of obvious too. To get to the middle, you have to leave the extremes, and then you arrive at the middle. Okay. So what? What does that mean? Here's the hammer. The extreme that you are likely to be closest to is the extreme that brings you pleasure. You get pleasure from that extreme. Whether it's gluttony or foolhardiness or extravagance, you get pleasure from it. So it's going to be hard to leave that pleasure, isn't it? What will it be? Painful. To leave the extreme and to move towards virtue is going to be painful. It will be a process of reconnecting, rewiring our pleasures and pains to a different object, so that now my pleasure does not come from running out in front of all the other soldiers and taking on the other army like a nitwit. My pleasure does not come from getting sloppy, fall-down drunk, or from showing off and giving more money than anybody else when it's not proper. I've got to change. I've got to change my life. I have got to change my personality, my whole being. That's hard. I've got to get pleasure from new things and pain from new things. I've got to rewire myself. And assuming I'm not in childhood anymore, that is going to be one heck of an order to fill. Children have the easiest task. They've got no history. If I'm in my 60s, my personality is already largely set. It's going to be hard as heck to change. But that's what life demands in order to be a better person. Then he leaves us with an interesting theoretical question, at least in book 2. Later on in the other books, he attempts to solve this adequately. But here's the question as it's initially posed in the Nicomachean Ethics. How far away does a person have to be from the mean before we say that they're blameworthy? This is a big issue. It's easy enough to say, okay, I agree with Aristotle that virtue is a point of moderation, but you and I both know it's not one single point on an infinite line. It's a range of points that still consider the middle, just like a bullseye has a definite diameter to it. How far away do I have to get from that bullseye before I'm blameworthy? In other words, before somebody says, he stinks at archery, he stinks at life, he stinks at virtue, he's vicious. How far away? Hard question. Again, let's go to alcohol. Let's say, and this has been determined subjectively, by the person involved, that the proper amount of alcohol in their lives is 4 beers per month. I'm just taking this off the top of my head. 4 beers per month. Okay, how far away do I have to get from 4 beers per month until I'm blameworthy? 5 beers per month doesn't seem that bad. 6 might raise an eyebrow. 7, that's almost double. But am I blameworthy yet, or do I have to go to 8 beers a month? Or 16? Or 24? You see the problem, drawing the line. Drawing the line between trying to aim at the moderation point and then just not giving a darn and doing just what I want. Where do I draw the line? And Aristotle says that, like he's done in the past, look at the way the world works. You can't make that into an absolute rule. The person subjectively has found 4 beers per month works. When is it that his life begins to get disrupted? That's the number of beers where he becomes blameworthy. If it's 7, it's 7. If it's 8, it's 8. If it's 5, it's 5. But we look at the way the world works. He lost his job, or his spouse left him, or he killed somebody in an accident. We look at the way that the world works, we say that was blameworthy. That ultimately is the only way to do it. Now he doesn't say this, but I want to leave my audience with this final thought on Aristotle's ethics. The main point of ethics is not to judge other people. Everybody wants to condemn Aristotle, thinking, oh, he's judging other people. He's beating other people over the head. The point of ethics is to improve yourself. The point of ethics is to apply this stuff to yourself, and if you never judge anybody else, that's still perfectly within the project. You have to begin with yourself. And if you can perfect yourself, then start judging other people. But Aristotle is concerned about improving oneself. I think that's a great point to end my commentary on Aristotle with, and I hope you've enjoyed it, and we'll have more talks about Ruth Benedict and Kant later in the course.